The heart of the forest is not something for human comprehension, nor is it for them to hold. It is a dark, obscure piece of esoteric lore that I have yet to wrap my mind around.
So then it's an actual item. A beating heart tucked inside the hills of the forest? No wonder Potter's Hill has so many supernatural incidents.
Yes, it seems this ancient trinket can be the source of our problems here.
Can be? If what you're telling me is true, then this is the best source of the paranormal we can latch onto. Part of our mission is to study the supernatural, too, and find the reasoning behind all the apparitions and odd creatures of folklore.
The fire in the mountains, the gray-stalking creature, and the lure of the hills are assumed to be connected with this heart. I've only seen it once, from afar, however, pulsing and beating steadily with an odd faint glow from inside. Even from looking at it from afar sent my mind into a frenzy, and I was almost caught by hidden guardians.
Then my guess of witchcraft is settled. There really are witches in the mountains.
Unfortunately, yes, this witchcraft cult is far more dangerous than I initially thought. Their symbol, the double triangles that you have seen, has a malevolent message. Reject the heavens to summon hell.
You don't mean to say they're trying to summon actual demons to possess us?
Possess or ensnare us for the ultimate sacrifice. The conjuration of an ancient devil. Which, coincidentally, leads us to our current entry, apprentice.
Yes, right. It does, sir. We've received and intercepted messages of a strange appearance lately happening in Potter's Hill, all across town. This next entry was from an older gentleman named Ian, who graciously came to our station and reported his specific incident. I'm ready when you are, sir.
Yes, begin now, and no more stalling.
Uh, right, yes. Apologies, sir. Like some of the other stories we've had, I'll be telling this in the perspective of the victim of this incident. My name's Ian, and I've lived in Potter's Hill for nearly 30 years now. Though the town is odd by nature, and believe me, it's been strange for a while, the recent disappearances and happenings among the streets and outer hills are anything but ordinary. I don't go out into the forest, at least not normally, but definitely not at night. Most people tend to ignore going out at night, even the younger ones, and for many good reasons too, one of which why I came to you two. Something needs to be done about these awful apparitions, anything that could rid our town of it. There were rumors here and there about a vanishing man. I thought it was absurd to think an actual person could turn invisible, but I hadn't thought of apparitions until I experienced it myself. I suppose the first actual appearance that I thought was odd was only what I could describe as a devil man. At first, I thought I had gone straight mad when I saw it, just for a brief second. Was it really the same vanishing man everyone had been talking about? Well, the first time I saw it, that creature was not in the form of a human. It was nearing sunset, so I thought I had seen an odd shadow at my neighbor's house. I saw it briefly from the corner of my eye as I was cleaning up at the end of the day. It made me go back for a second take, and I definitely regret it. This shadow entity was creeping in the bushes surrounding the neighbor's house. It was made of black mist and had its back turned towards my direction. A shadowed, taloned hand suddenly reached up to grasp the window. I was frozen to the spot as I watched a dark head follow behind it, a curved, horned silhouette set on both sides. In that moment, I named this entity the Devil Man. Those horns were cursed. It resonated a faint crimson glow before wisping away into the cooling air. As it peeked inside my neighbor's house, spying on them, or at least trying to find someone, it suddenly rose up in tremendous height, stretching its blackened, misty body nearly 20 feet high to peek into the second floor windows. Its legs could briefly be seen now, and it made my body tremble. These legs were like those of goats. Black hair covered them and rustled with that same crimson mist. Instead of feet, hooves took their place. Surely this was some kind of devil spawn. I saw it tap on the window then with its taloned fingers. The crimson horns gave a short burst of red mist, like it released something. I'm not sure what it was, but watching this all unfold caused me to unknowingly creep closer to my own window. That was the last mistake I made. This dark entity snapped its direction suddenly towards my direction and stared directly into my eyes. That vile face would haunt my nightmares for weeks. I still remember it now, and I hope that it will disappear from my mind after telling the story. It wasn't quite a face, but rather a half-skull with pale skin loosely attached. A small red eye was embedded deep in the skeletal eye socket, while the other side was stitched up like a doll. The jaw hung loosely and extended to an irregular position, but the way that it slid in and out of the darkness was terrifying. Not only was its body made of darkness, but as it slunk back into the corners of the bushes, it was like its entire form had vanished. I backed up instinctively, and I'm glad I did. Right at the thin pane of glass, its face suddenly reappeared and grinned at me, tapping the glass rhythmically with its black-taloned fingers. The lights began to flicker in the room. Shadows danced across the walls. I panicked and I tripped over myself. The lights were completely shut off now, and when I stood back up, the devilish face at the window was fading away into the darkening night. Well, as you can guess, I didn't sleep at all that night. I locked every door and window and never left my room, waiting for the sun to rise. The paranoia that this entity would invade my house interrupted my every decision. I dared not to go out, not even for food or water. By the time morning arrived, I was comfortable with going out. I decided to visit the local bookshop for spiritualism and the like. Some protection is better than none, you see. Paranoid and scared out of my mind, I barely said a word while I drove out and collected a few books on the paranormal and superstitious arts of the night. Most of what I got were lists of demons and their precarious nature. Some listed ways to attempt to ignore demons once they entered a household, but I needed a way to protect it from getting inside. Panicked, I hadn't realized that half the day was already gone by the time I skimmed through all the books. The sleepless night suddenly hit my body with drowsiness, and I eventually fell asleep on my armchair. That was an awful incident to experience on top of what I saw. In this dream, I wandered throughout my house in the night. No lights worked outside, and it was pitch black. I could barely see anything, and yet my body was being guided by some internal force. Each room I went to, I could see that wretched face, that half-skeletal pale devil, peek out of its head and horns for just a second before vanishing into the black darkness. Long whispers and raspy breaths were heard each time I saw the face. When I fell asleep, I thought I'd scared myself to death. Right behind my unconscious body, the form of that demon suddenly flashed its harsh fangs at me, and its black mist surrounded me all at once. The horns curled irregularly, and I felt my heart shoot with pain. I was suddenly shot back into my corporeal body, and I gasped for breath. All the lights were out, and it was night. Had I really been asleep for hours upon end? I panicked and grabbed the book at hand to run to the door and escape. None of the lights worked when I tried to switch them on, and when I reached the door, it wouldn't budge. The handle turned instantly hot and burned my hand. I winced in pain and raced to the kitchen. Sliding out one of the drawers, I found a book of matches and raced upstairs to my room. That horrible sensation of something following you up the stairs was real that night. The thumping of footsteps followed me each step of the way, but I dared not to look back. Sweat poured down my face as I slammed my room door shut. Instant pounding on the door followed. Finding a nearby candle on my desk, I lit it with trembling hands as I tore through the book to find anything of protection. Boom! Boom! The pounding of the door was so loud, and it sent absolute terror through my body. The raspy voice called out to me in an eerie tone, saying my name over and over again. I couldn't listen to it. I had to stop this curse. Boom! Boom! It was a wonder that the door hadn't been broken through. The banging was ceaseless. I was nearing the end of the book when the entity stopped saying my name and made this strange guttural sound. Growl! Growl! It was so strange and it caught me off guard. I froze for a moment, but slipped back into fear when the pounding continued. There in the faint candlelight, I saw that salt could hold back some spirits. It would have been useful if it was back in the kitchen. I panicked and stumbled to my bedside drawers and found a small crucifix. Grasping it with sweating hands, I returned to the pounding door and, without hesitation, swung it wide open. Silence. Nothing to be seen. No misty body, no floating skeletal head, but I wouldn't let it get the best of me. I raised the crucifix high in front of me and recited the prayers that I've known for so many years. Grumbles and raspy breaths came from every room as the doors slammed shut. Blackness surrounded the hallways with a low growl resonating and shaking the walls. Heavy footsteps followed behind. No, not footsteps. Hoof steps. The clip-clop of heavy hooves slammed on the hardwood floors. As I raced down the steps, hearing that ominous voice. Growl! Growl! I nearly tripped on the last step and raced to the kitchen, desperately finding the remaining salt I had and sprinted towards the back door. While I found the door, I looked back and saw the tall silhouette of the devil man stretching high up to the very top of the ceiling. It had to bend down just to fit inside. Its taloned fingers stretching out towards me and its horns puffing out crimson mists. The red eye inside its skeletal face was shining with violent delight. Turning the handle, I darted out the back door and waited in the cool night. I watched each window carefully as the lights inside were flickering on and off in rapid succession. Rather than waiting for the entity to chase me, I decided to flee to my neighbor's house. I felt bad for it afterwards, but I wanted that thing out of my house so I could protect myself. That whole night I sensed that entity slinking around the neighbor's house. They weren't home that night. Perhaps they had gotten a nightmare of their own and fled somewhere far away. The doors were open and the windows weren't locked either. Either way, I shut myself in the nearest bathroom and poured lines of salt in the front of the door and made a circle around myself. Shaking, I waited another sleepless night until the sun rose. Even while the night passed, I could hear his raspy breath, sometimes calling my name, sometimes airing that strange sound. Growl! Growl! As the next day arrived, I sped back to my house and encased the entire home in a giant salt circle, so that not just the doors were safe, but the entire structure. It sent relief to me when sunset arrived and I didn't sense the entity at all. But I did see it again. Far away down the street, that same devil man was creeping around the houses, stretching its black misty form and vanishing in seconds. Later that week, when I was finally comfortable to go out normally again, I returned to the bookstore and found more material on those odd dark forces. It mostly scared me that I was reading and I stopped looking into it out of fear of other spirits, listening or watching me. It may not be believable for some, but after what I've experienced, I will always place faith that spirits exist around us. A strange sort of ritual kept appearing in those local books as well, one that revolved around a fire, a burning of an effigy, and the place of stones beneath the mountain. With just a passing glance, I had no wish to delve further into it. Sounding like witchcraft, I closed the materials and sent them back to the store. All these dark spirits have me worried since my incident. Is it still among our community? Well, I fear it will continue to haunt us until something is done.
Again with the fire and the burning of an effigy.
The cremation of self, from what I've read through some sources.
Yes, a dangerous ritual from their group can spell certain disaster to the specific people they target. However, some rituals they perform unsuccessfully can release spirits from the in-between, accidentally, and without their knowledge. I think it may be the best solution to finally go after this cult of the mountain before anyone else is affected by them. We will have to plan ahead before doing anything reckless.
If they perform a ritual, is there a way for us to perform some sort of cleansing? If this man was able to defend himself against this ominous spirit by the use of just one crucifix and simply a soul circle, we should be able to collect other spiritual items for our own battles.
Battles, you say? Yes, I suppose there will be a battle, one that will be divided from our physical limitations and our mental abilities. We will need more than just trinkets. I suppose we will be in deep meditation for this. Perhaps I may teach you about this.
We'll need to hurry before the rising of the red moon. Sir, are you okay? Did I say something?
Just a memory, Apprentice Emmett. A long past memory from when Well, when I was an apprentice myself for the Foundation, there was a time when we had to deal with perilous spirits on a red moon. It was a frightening time, and we were much less prepared than we are now. However, with these unknown figures, creatures, and entities in recent times, the danger can turn out to be far worse than I've seen.
Well, yes, the red moon definitely has some sort of odd effect on many things, from rituals to spirits. I think if we don't hurry, that heart of the mountain might be unburied for the wrong reasons.
But it's also something we must stay away from. It's far too perilous for human hands to touch. An esoteric trinket of the ancient past cannot be simply lifted and hidden. Just as this witch cult performs their dark rituals, we are able to perform our own light rituals in order to move the heart. It's a complicated incantation, but it's possible. But first, we must stop the cult.
I suppose you're right, sir. Things are ramping up rather quickly, but I suppose the realm of the paranormal can be just that, alarming and sudden.
And a realm which humans will never fully understand. Nevertheless, we will do our best to overcome the dark forces of the unseen.